Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, welcome back to my video, welcome if you are new. Today we are filming a video where we let ChatGPT pick my reads. I had finished my entire monthly TBR, I wanted some inspiration, and now here we are. It actually worked out really well and ChatGPT picked some cracking books. So let's roll on this reading vlog and I hope you guys enjoy. ChatGPT has spoken. The first book, I probably should have picked it up before I started the clip. The first book is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo, which follows the Grishaverse universe. So it's after Shadow and Bone, that trilogy, which I read. The first two books I was lukewarm about, and then the third book I loved. So I'm excited to see this universe continue. And because it's so spring-like outside, I've set up the egg chair, or we've basically got one of these swinging chairs in the garden, and I've set it up and I'm gonna go sit outside. Criminal prodigy Kaz Brecker has been offered a chance at a deadly heist, break into the Ice Court, a military stronghold that has never been breached, and retrieve a hostage whose knowledge could change Grecian magic forever. To succeed would mean riches beyond Kaz's wildest dreams, but he can't pull it off alone. 6 dangerous outcasts, 1 impossible heist. Together they might be unstoppable if they don't kill each other first. And then got this little cup. It's from B&M. And I've put some squash in it. And yeah, we're gonna go sit outside and read this book. I feel like I've changed my outfits many times today, but it's just because I've been layering up and layering down. But I have been into town to pick up a couple of bits. Alex had his hair cut, we went to the butcher's, went to the library, and I've made a little bit of a dent through this book. I'm currently on page 101. It's all in the setup phase at the moment, right? So we are slowly but surely being introduced to the 6 characters that will be part of this plot. So far I'm enjoying it. It feels like there's a good amount of pace to it because we're still in character introduction phases, but at least they're being introduced by action, by Kaz, the main character, kind of going around and collecting them all. So yeah, so far so good. We shall see. I went to the library and returned the 2 books that I had read. One was Girl Talk, which I couldn't stand, and one was Verity by Colleen, what's her name? Colleen Hoover? And then I picked up Riley Sager, The Only One Left, which is our book club book at work. And yeah, the library has all of Riley Sager's books, so I thought I would borrow it from there and then maybe read the rest of them if I find this one any good. That's my book news. I am so tired. Did I talk about this earlier? I can't remember. I had a second year cast gala for Hadestown on Wednesday, and then a 7th birthday gala performance for Tina Turner the musical on Thursday. Both involved after parties with the client and the team, and both involved meetings before and after, arranging the run up and then kind of post. So I am tired. We also had 3 on sales last week. So we had Palladium Panto and Burlesque, which are my accounts, and then we as a company, but I don't work on it, had Hunger Games going on sale. So it was lots of on sales, big projects, big days. So I am very tired, which means I'm reading quite slowly. So I'm currently actually watching Ariana Grande's Brighter Days Ahead video, the one that's half an hour long. And I'm probably going to keep watching this and I think just switch off for a bit, and then I might go and read some more later. But I think today is going to be a brain off day. My brain is really fuzzy. I also think I might be getting sick, which is not ideal. It is a lot later. It is now 9:15. I have spent most of the afternoon half asleep because I am not feeling incredible. But I have made it over halfway through 6 of Crows. I'm currently on page 272, which is the beginning of part 4. They're still on their journey to their heist. They haven't actually heisted yet, which makes sense because you've got to build up to it. What I'm finding is the characters are great. I'm really enjoying the kind of collection of people, and the way the characters are built, the way the relationships are forming. There's some funny little backstories. Like, I'm really enjoying the characters. If I hadn't have read Shadow and Bone, I think I wouldn't understand what is going on. There is absolutely no explanation to the magic system, the world, who the Grisha are. They then start talking about, what do they call them? I forget the word, but they're basically the things that make your power stronger. They start talking about those, but without really explaining what they are. And then start talking about like subsections of the Grisha without explaining what they are. And I feel like if you hadn't have read the original trilogy, I don't know if you necessarily need to know it to understand what's going on. I don't think it's actually fundamentally important to the story, but I think it adds like a layer of depth that you just wouldn't know if you hadn't read that book. There's also ever so slight sprinklings of characters from the original trilogy, but they're so said in passing that they're not really important. I've read it and I actually really loved it. I have to say, I think that the world building is still lacking, but the characters and the action and the pacing are all top notch. I loved this book and I'm so glad I read it. I also enjoy the cliffhanger into the second book. I really enjoy how there's like an element of the story is wrapped up, an element of the story is still outstanding. And I actually just really loved this book. I would say it's like a 4.5. Like, I had a great time and I think ChatGPT picked very well. So we're gonna go back for round 2. Hi, can you help me pick my next book? Can you pick a book in a can you pick a different genre? Fiction book genre to read. Magical realism, and it's recommended The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, which I actually own. That was so totally not what I expected. So we've got magical realism, a genre where the ordinary and the fantastical blend seamlessly. Think whimsical, thought-provoking, and often a little haunting. It's perfect if you want something beautifully written, but still a little bit otherworldly. And then the recommendation is A Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. It's about a magical competition between 2 illusionists, but their fates are intertwined with a magical circus that only opens at night. The atmosphere is dreamlike and enchanting, with rich, poetic prose. It's a standalone, so no series commitment. Does that sound good? That sounds perfect. I now cannot find this book on this bookcase. There. We have it. This is the next book to read. I'm so excited. This has been on my list for ages and I'm excited. I feel like ChatGPT is picking some cracking books and this is book number 2. Now I need to head over to my mum's, so I probably won't start this until this evening. And I hope it's amazing. I'm actually really excited. I feel like these 2 books, such a vibe. Such a vibe. It is the next day and I am not feeling too hot. So I actually haven't read a huge amount of this book. I'm about 20% of the way through, got to page 106. It's taken me a really long time to read because I'm not like quite there in my head. There you go. I'm actually really enjoying this book. There is something it's got similar writing to Stephanie Garber in terms of like the kind of magical, ethereal vibe, but then don't get me wrong, I freaking love Stephanie Garber, but it just feels a little bit less fairy tale and whimsical and more like a traditional fantasy. And I think the blend of those 2 things together, you've still got the kind of whimsical, magical elements to it, but then also more the kind of traditional fantasy plot, and the 2 of those 2 things coming together, I am loving it. I'm actually really, really enjoying this book. So there was I forget his name already. This is what I mean. This is when my brain is not working. So there was a magician called Prospero who was like a famous magician. Everyone knew him. He had the circus that appeared overnight. Very, very famous. He then has a daughter called Cecilia who has the ability to manipulate things. So she can basically heal people, she can change fabrics, she can change like a notebook into a bird. Like she can sort of, basically she's a magician. And I don't know why, but Prospero has like this rivalry / camaraderie / I don't know what they are, with this other guy, and basically makes a bet that his daughter can beat anyone that he puts forward. And the person that he puts forward is a boy called Marco. And stuff happens, and now the two of them have met, and they're aware of each other, but they don't know that the other person is the person they're competing with. Marco knows about Celia, but Celia doesn't know about Marco. And I'm actually really enjoying it. I don't want to say anything else that's going on because I don't want to ruin the plot, but she is now performing on the stage as a magician, and he obviously is seeing that. He's seeing how exceptional she is, and he is panicking that there is no way that he is going to beat her. And I think he knows more about this deal than she does, potentially. I'm not really sure, but yeah, I'm really enjoying it. It's a little bit confusing, but I think it's kind of confusing in like quite a fun way, and it's probably also confusing because my brain is not quite connecting dots together at the moment. I'm gonna head off to work. I think I'm gonna work probably a few hours and then maybe clock off because I'm not feeling very well. We shall see. And then yeah, I will keep you guys posted. I've closed the door on the sunshine coming through, but it doesn't stop the facts. It is 7 o'clock. I have just got home from work and it's still sunny outside. I haven't read actually a huge amount over these last 2 days. I've been quite ill, just haven't had like brain space. We also had a very big launch at work yesterday, so that kind of took up all of my like brain time. So I actually haven't read a huge amount of this book so far, but I'm currently on page 196, so coming up to halfway through. I understand the overall direction of the plot. I can't work out how that plot is an entire book's plot, and there are certain times when I read this book and I'm like, what is going on? And I can't work out if that's my brain because I'm not feeling 100%, whether it's the point of the book or whether that's just, I don't know. I will spend like a good like 20 minutes reading a couple of paragraphs and then being like, what happened? I'm weirdly enjoying my confusement, but I am confused. We shall see. Like I say, I'm currently coming up to halfway through. I'm probably like, 3/5 of the way through this book. And I think my plan for this evening is honestly to sit on... Just gonna get a hairband. The way my brain works is halfway through a sentence, I suddenly decided to do something. I think my plan for this evening is to basically sit and read this book and see how far I get, see if I can kind of grasp a little bit more what's going on. I've got to the penultimate part. I'm currently on page 390. There are 490 pages in this book, so there's 100 pages left to read. I can't explain why. There seems to be two storylines going on in this circus. There's the main character and the boy that she's in this competition with, that she doesn't really want to be in a competition with them. They don't really understand the rules. They don't really understand how a winner is chosen. They just know they're in competition with each other. And then separately, there's these two twins at the circus, which the main female character is friends with. And one of those twins has fallen in love with a boy that she met at the circus. And I don't understand how the two plot lines are connected. I keep reading the two separate plot lines, like I don't get why I'm following this. I don't know if I necessarily understand the point of what the ending will be.
Stop listening right there. Because what's
It's the following morning. I do think my voice sounds worse, but I actually feel better. I finished my book and I sat on my thoughts for the evening. So I finished The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. Here's the thing. Loved the vibe. Enjoyed the writing. There was no plot. So on the back, it talks about... Actually, it doesn't talk about it on the back, but it talks about it in a summary that I read, where it talks about a duel and like a big competition and lots of training. And so I thought it would be a little bit like kind of the stereotypical kind of fantasy reads, where you would see two characters kind of going through almost like a training camp to prep for like a big showdown at the end of the book. It kind of felt like that didn't happen. Like there was obviously that plot, but it didn't feel like it was like, I don't know, I can't work it out. I'm not sure. I can't work out if it's a 3-star because the plot was lacking or a 4-star because I really liked the writing. I just don't know how to rate this book. I don't necessarily know if I'd ever recommend it, which to me means it's at 3 stars. I don't know how to rate this book. I'm really struggling. Like I'm just struggling. I think I'm gonna give it 3 stars. That's the end of that. But yeah, I don't know. So, right, next thing's next. It is now the 2nd of April. So I'm gonna pick a new book, and the new book that I'm gonna pick is gonna be off of my April TBR. So if you haven't seen my April TBR video, what are you doing? No, I'm joking. I will link it down below. Otherwise, this is a quick summary of the books that I have chosen. I'm not going to pick the tandem read because I have a plan for that already. And I'm not going to pick the reread of Andy LaRue because I'm just not quite in the mood for it yet. So, I have the other books copied in my little pasting section of my computer. And I'm going to ask ChatGPT to pick one of the books off of my April TBR. You need to pick another. You're flying through books. I love it. Do you want to stick with magical realism, switch back to fantasy, or try something different? That winky face is making me uncomfortable. Why is an AI flirting with me? Can you pick from one of these books? Ooh. If you like the Night Circus, this has a similar vibe. Let's not go there. But I think I didn't mind the lack of plot line in Emily Wilde because I was going into the book expecting not a huge plot. But I don't know. Anyway, the next book I'm going to read is the 2nd book in the Emily Wilde trilogy. Here she is. She is the most stunning cover. I love this kind of whimsical scenery on the kind of green background. So this was picked as a book with a name in the title for my April TBR. I thought the first book was really cute. I think there's more of a plot in that book than there is in this one, I have to say, but I think it's very cute. You have Emily, who is a professor who is currently researching her book, so her Encyclopedia of Fairies. So she's gone off on an expedition to go and learn about some fairies to put into her book. And her academic rival turns up and causes annoyance, and obviously they fall in love, and it's really cute. And the ending, the little cliffhanger that you end on, I was like, but I feel like more happens in that book. I also feel like there's more direction for that book. The thing you're building towards makes sense, while the thing you're building towards in this book, I couldn't quite work out what it was. So yeah, I am, although this says, if you like the Night Circus, you're going to read this, then I'm going to scrap that bit of the paragraph and just keep reading this anyway. But it also says, it's an enchanting mix of fantasy, adventure and academia with a little bit of romance woven in. The world building is lush, alright, and the Fae lore is fascinating. It's a sequel to Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, but you can still enjoy it if you haven't read the first one. Can you? I'm excited. I really liked how the first book ended. I am intrigued to see where the world goes, and this will be my next book, which hopefully this book goes better than the last one. But I did have a cracking first book, so maybe I'll do a good book sandwich. No, you know what I mean. Anyway, I'm gonna read this, and I will check in with you guys when I have some thoughts. It's been a busy day today, a busy work day, and then it was kind of busy on the train on the way in. I ended up having to deal with some work things on the way back. The train on the way in was just packed. So didn't end up reading as much as I aimed to. That being said, sorry, I picked up my phone that I dropped on the floor. That being said, I still made it to page 112. So still a decent chunk of the way through the book. I just love this world. I actually think the action seems at least to be building the further through the book you go, because the book strictly speaking falls into a category called cozy fantasy, which is basically it's a fantasy world but the stakes are lower, and the stakes definitely are, I would say, lower than a typical fantasy where if you don't do what you're supposed to be doing the world ends. But there's still quite a lot going on. In the first book, she is trying to find out what's going on so she can complete her encyclopedia. And in the second book, which is this one, she's basically trying to find a door to a particular world, and so you go on like her exploring and trying to find this door, and she's following the path of another kind of researcher of fairies who disappeared, because she thinks that they probably disappeared through this door. So as much as like it's still told in quite like a cozy, low risk setup, there is still quite a lot of risk. It's quite a lot of exploration and quite a lot of action. It's just told in more of like a cutesy, calm way. I am enjoying it. They've introduced a couple of new people in this book that weren't in the previous book, like a new rival and one of her family members, and so there's a few new dynamics which I'm actually quite enjoying. You've obviously still got Emily, and you've still got Wendell, Bamblebee, whatever his name is. They're still obviously the main two characters, but you've got some new supporting characters, which I'm quite enjoying. I'm going to sit in bed for like the next hour and keep reading it, and I'll probably finish it at some point tomorrow. But yeah, I'm so excited. But the last book I don't think comes out in paperback until the end of the year, so I'm just going to have to like sit on it for some time, which is fine. So, morning, it is the next day. I read a chunk of this book in bed, so I am now on page 224. There's been some attempts on lives, so people have had to be like pulled back to base and kind of healed back to health. She's encountered many fairies. Poe is back from the first book, which is really cute. It's actually been quite fun seeing some of like the characters in the first book return. There's been many threats on one person's life, so I actually think there's a lot of action going on, and I like that. And I think the last one is supposed to be like the most action heavy, at least that's what I've seen from the reviews. So I don't understand therefore the definition of cozy fantasy, but I still love this. That's my check-in, and I'm going to see you guys when I've probably finished the book. It is the next morning and I have finished the book. I actually loved it. I finished Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands, and I can't wait to read the last one. I feel like this one's not ended on quite the cliffhanger that the first book ended on, so therefore I'm quite happy now to wait to the end of the year when the third book came out. But I love this. I really like that it's got that like cozy feel, but there's enough action going on that you kind of feel invested and you feel a bit stressed and you want the characters to succeed. And I love the little duo of Emily and Wendell. Like, I think the two of them together is actually quite cute. But like, as much as if you've read the book, there is a romance and there is stuff happening in that romance, it still feels quite slow and just like little crumbs of a romance, which I think is quite sweet and quite refreshing, having read quite a lot of quite smutty, spicy, lusty books. Like, I'm quite enjoying that this one, there's not a lot of those thoughts don't really cross their brains. Like, it's more about a respect and a like they think each other are like beautiful, but it's more like there's more of like a base level understanding and respect there, which I think some of the other books that I read lack sometimes. Loved it. So we have now read all 3 books in this video. I'm only going to read 3 in this video because I need to get back onto my monthly TBR. I've got some books to pick up from the library that I have like ordered to be collected, which is the 2nd, 3rd and 4th book in whatever the series is called, where the first book's called There's Cool and Lovely. I've then got my monthly TBR, which is quite chunky, and I am going to finish this video here. I feel like we have had, in the corporate terminology, a shit sandwich. We've had 2 exceptional books, and in the middle we've had a book that I think I've settled on a 3-star, but it's being carried by its writing, and I think if it was on plot it'd probably be on like 2.5. So we had 6 of Crows at the beginning of the week. I loved this. This group of characters was great, and I think Leigh Bardugo's writing has shifted a fair way from Shadow and Bone. Like, I found Shadow and Bone improved the further through it I got, and I'm glad I read it before I read this. But I think you need to read Shadow and Bone to understand some of the lore and some of the like the background of the Grisha, but you don't necessarily need to read it to understand the plot. Well, at least not really, but I'm glad I read it, and I can't wait to see where this story goes in Crooked Kingdom, which I do own, which I will probably also try and read in April, which is kind of why I want to finish this video here. Really, really enjoyed this book. I can't stop thinking about Kaz and Inej and their like will they, won't they love thing. Like I enjoyed this book a lot. We then moved on to The Night Circus, which so I was chatting to someone at work who'd read one of Erin Morgenstern's other books, maybe The Starless Sea, and she goes, what did you think about The Night Circus? Because I've read The Starless Sea. And I said, my biggest gripe with this book is it's building up a plot that doesn't ever feel like it comes to fruition. Like it doesn't really feel like the whole point of the book you ever really get to. Like it kind of happens, but it doesn't really. And she said that was her exact same feeling about The Starless Sea. So I don't know if it's just Erin Morgenstern's style of writing. I don't know. I just found the plot very lacking. And I get it's probably trying to be more kind of like vibes over plot. But like this one can be vibes and still have a really solid plot, while this one was just all vibes, no thoughts. Was the kind of vibe this book was giving me. And then the very last book we read, which I did love, is Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands by Heather Fawcett, and I loved this book. I love this world, I love these characters. I like the fact that this does have the vibes but also has a plot. Like I love it, and I can't wait for the third book. I think it's out in hardback currently, but I am a paperback reader, so the paperback is on pre-order and I can't wait until it arrives in my house. These are the 3 books that I have read. Let me just pose for a thumbnail. And yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, give this video a thumbs up, click subscribe, leave a comment. Let me know if you have read any of these books and what you thought about them. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!